Yesterday at the Super Bowl, Taylor Swift was booed, Trump was cheered, and you can see Taylor Swift with a bewildered look on her face mouth the words to her degenerate female friend, "What's going on?" As Taylor Swift hears tens of thousands of Americans express their disdain for her, and of course, that which she stands for, look at her reaction. Oh my gosh, aren't I being oppressed right now? That's exactly what her facial expression says. Looking to her fellow degenerate girlfriend for counterfeit virtue points. Aren't we oppressed after we have violated the social contract and engaged in the rejection of objective frameworks and the belief that we are above reality? Another definition for believing you're above reality is being a psychopath. This is why the left-wing rejection of reality under the banner of resentment is starkly, psychologically speaking, psychopathic. You can see in her eyes the belief and in her facial expressions. And by the way, words account for only about 13% of the average person's communication in terms of their data expression. Mine might be a bit higher because my verbal IQ is high comparative to the average person, but that doesn't change the fact that we can still glean a lot of information from Taylor Swift's facial expressions here, which is exactly what I'm describing. Here's herself being booed. Oh my gosh, aren't I oppressed right now? What's going on? Can you believe they're booing me? Why are they booing me? They just cheered for Trump. See, and then she mouths the words, "What's going on?" You were either paid to endorse Kamala Harris engaging in the degenerate rejection, the degenerately feminine rejection of reality and accountability that all Americans, most of the voting populace, were able to pick up on and judge as incoherent and fraudulent and immoral, or you were paid. You were either paid or you did it of your own volition. Either way, you're a fraud. Either way, you're counterfeit. And all of that was made possible by your degenerate feminine psychopathology. Now, I will explain why. It's important to understand why I'm correlating this with the feminine personality at all. Leftism, the Democrat Party, though in shambles now, has never been about a political movement. It's been about a rejection, a denial of objective frameworks. Objectivity, meaning that truth is derived from reality. Objective reality, not an ideology or a set of beliefs. This is the difference between an opinion and a fact. People who get far in life, people who are competent, people who are moral, people who get very far in life like Elon Musk or other competent men, or men that compete to a high level in any field for that matter, have to embody objective reality so that they can succeed in meritocratic hierarchies. Men are taught this from a very young age. You can't change the rules of the game. You participate in the rules of the game, not because the rules of the game were made by a corrupt tyrant who wants to oppress you and do something to you, but because the rules of the game are derivative of reality itself. When you score a point, that is 1 point. When your opponent scores 1 point on the soccer field, for instance, that is them scoring 1 point. There are losers and winners. That's because reality itself says there are losers and winners. Somebody gets the girl, somebody doesn't get the girl. Somebody makes money, somebody makes less money. Somebody is correct, somebody is wrong. Men have to live in this objective world because this is how we build civilization. This is how society is coherently structured. Women, on the other hand, are not biologically programmed like this at all. If you were to ask a woman a straightforward objective question, a logical question, they will often give you an answer that is either incoherent or designed to be deliberately the opposite of the truth. You see this all the time on the Fresh and Fit podcast. I don't endorse all the ideas that they have, that's for sure. But it is useful to see on that podcast how women over and over again repeatedly say the inverse of what makes sense just so they can do warfare with reality, which is the mindset of most modern women. Take a listen to Taylor Swift profess this exact statement. This is at a Taylor Swift concert, and she is getting thousands of young women to chant F the patriarchy. The reason for this is because masculinity, and there's a good reason I've been talking about the connection between objective reality and masculinity here, because masculinity is an apparatus that embodies objective reality, technically speaking. It's what won in this election. It's Elon Musk presiding over incompetent corruption and failed spending. It's Donald Trump winning an election against her, an incompetent woman with a low verbal IQ who says only what her puppet masters want her to say. most of those messages being incoherent insanities in alignment with left-wing ideology, which of course was judged and rejected, et cetera, et cetera. Competent masculine men enforcing laws at the border, enforcing parameters, enforcing order. When you were to ask a woman before on the left, do you even care that America should have borders, and they would say no. Statements that are directly the opposite of what is good. That is all being judged, but it's being judged by this apparatus of masculinity. So when you see this pathological reality denial, it is starkly feminine, as it also attacks masculinity. This is a multi-dimensional, deep analysis here. The left is not a political movement. It is an opposition party to reality itself, as reality is objective and coherent. What is the incentive women have for being incoherent? I talk about this in many of my videos, but the trade-off ends up being fairly simple. If you say reality is not objective and instead truth is determined by a group or a cult, then you don't have to have an individual identity. And really what they're trying to avoid, they being the left, is an individual identity. Because once you accept that you exist as an individual, you are responsible for embodying and understanding and acting out the objective truth from reality coherently, so that you can be a good person, so that you can have actual merit and virtue, so that you can orient yourself properly and strive for the proper set of ideals that will result in you having a good life. For a woman, that would be, of course, being feminine, finding a good husband, having good morals, having good ethics, raising a family well, as all women who have families purport that the most amount of meaning from their lives was derived from their family. If you don't believe me, go ask your grandma, hey grandma, what's the most important thing in your life that you would say brought you the most meaning? She's not going to say, oh, when grandpa bought me a bag. She's going to say, you. She's going to say, my family. So leftists can't stand any of that, because that's all derivative from an individual identity. So they're trying to avoid an individual identity so that they can avoid everything that comes as a result of that, like meritocracy. This is at the core of Marxism. Rejecting individualism is at the core of Marxism, because they want to be the arbiters of truth. They want to pretend as though a bunch of false things are true and a bunch of true things are false. Because fundamentally, these people are weak. They've taken a deal which they believe abdicates them from this responsibility to engage with objective reality. In truth, it doesn't do that, but they still take that deal because it's easier in the short run to say, I'm a good person because I'm a part of the right group. Objective morality doesn't exist. I am the arbiter of morals and virtue. But of course, this results in them being judged brutally, as you see people booing Taylor Swift here, and as you see things like Trump protecting women from being abused by these people who call themselves compassionate and empathetic. Meanwhile, they're literally willing to let women be beat up and injured in sports by men. And so they're constantly enraged when they're judged, but that's what's happening here. If you appreciate my analysis, subscribe to the channel and go to the link in description and become a member. YouTube has demonetized the channel, so it's important that you support, and I appreciate all of you that do that. I'll see you guys in the next video.